you and I have known each other for a long time, very
Yeah,
long. Jen's Place started a little over 11 years ago, and I'm pretty sure we go almost all the way back there, if not all the way. Um,
yeah,
and one of the things that I have loved about you and getting to know you is how loyal you are to the brand, how loyal you are to your friends, and I know I've known you along with a group of people that have all stayed connected over a decade or more, and so I value loyalty a lot. I came from a military family, and discipline and loyalty and integrity are were foundational for me, growing up. So I just wanted to acknowledge you for that, as I appreciate the loyalty you've had for the business and to the group of people that have been hanging around the Gents Place for a long time. So thank
well,
you.
I
Uh,
appreciate that.
yeah, man. So we were talking a little bit earlier about people making positive shifts. Like, there is adversity right now that we're all dealing with. We all have to change in some way or the other. And I want to talk to people that are making positive shifts or sharing positive shifts that they're seeing others make, or positive shifts that maybe we're all having trouble making, but that we should, you know, try to move in that direction. You're in the financial services world, right? You've got clients that
Yeah.
you manage their money, all of that stuff. Are you seeing anything out there? Are you kind of touched by any experiences or just conversations that you're having with your clients that are making positive shifts right now?
Yeah, I mean, so that's been the big thing for me is I mean, obviously everything going crazy with the market and stuff gave me an excuse to reach out to a lot of people very quickly. And then kind of hear what they're doing. I mean, like how their family's doing, what's going on with their businesses and things like that. And like like you said, it's people seem to be in two camps, but the vast majority of my business guys are they're like, hey, we're figuring out ways to work around the system to still be in business. Or the ones that are having a little bit of a harder time are mostly looking at the positive, saying like, well, I'm spending more time with my family. We're figuring out some ways to make that work. Um, it's been pretty amazing. And then as far as from our perspective as a firm and as a company, um, we've decided just since really leadership from the top since like 3 days in was like, hey, we've got to lead through this. We've got to take care of our people, and we're going to have to adapt. And I'd say about a third of our guys are big, clients in multiple states, big on webinars and things like that. And then the rest of us are pretty much we do it when we need to, but we like to be face to face. And it
Mhm.
was just kind of beginning like, hey, we need to all adapt to this. And the guys who've been doing this for a long time, help those of us who haven't been doing this for a long time. We've had several just little things, webinars on how to set up your business and how to do those things. And and even from home office in Indianapolis, it's been support there and like, hey, this is how we all move forward together. And I think that's been the big thing that's been awesome is the theme that I see from first, from our company and several of my friends and some clients is it's all about we're moving forward together. It's not it's kind of a no man left behind type situation.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the one thing that I know. I know two things to be true. You can't convince me otherwise. One is we're doing all of this together, and two, it's temporary. I know
yes.
those two things, right? And I find a great deal of confidence and just peace in knowing those two things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think some things are going to be better on the other side of this. I think a lot of people will realize the value of relationships and the value of time. Next time your friend asks for you to grab a cup of coffee or a beer, you're probably going to say yes.
Yeah.
Um, but the other side of it is too, like personally, I like to see the way business is adapting. So maybe going forward, that'll be something that is better about the work-life balance. I mean, we're still running. I mean, we obviously have to work with the financial investment side, but we're still running life apps without blood and urine, right? So because people don't want to do that. So our staff is on in Indianapolis,
Mm.
but they're all working remotely. And I look at that like, hey, maybe this is a positive for companies like ours and other companies say, maybe we can do more to help people work remotely more often so they have that work life balance, spend more time with their families. I think this is the hard way to see it, but I think that a lot of big companies are saying maybe they don't need to have everybody in the office every day, and
Yep.
they can help maintain that mental quality of life as
Yep.
well as the business.
I definitely think there's going to be a certain percentage, a non-zero percentage of the workforce that was not working from home is going to be working from home. Is it 5% more, 10%, 50%? Who knows? But it's more than was before. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, you mentioned one thing that's been a constant theme. I've been through dozens of interviews already. And the common theme I'm finding with people making positive shifts is that they're choosing to add value to their client relationships, their personal relationships, their communities. They're making a choice to serve other people first. And so, whether that's a financial services firm that says, let's put out some webinars for free, let's put out some
Yeah.
content to help people out. I talked to a gentleman yesterday who speaks all around the world to from 2,000 to 20,000 arenas, and he charges a good deal of money to do that. He's doing virtual keynotes for free for 6,000, 5,000, 10,000 people. um, I'm getting people on the show that normally would charge a significant amount of money just to talk to them for their time that they're getting on at no charge. And so I love to see that. And those are the brands that I want to support coming out of this, are the ones that were intentionally adding value. They were doing it at low to no charge. And I think that's going to build a lot of loyalty, long term.
Oh,
Yeah. So, what are you guys doing right now as a financial services firm? Like, what kind of advice are you giving people? And I know each situation's different, but is there any sort of generic advice, like don't pull your money out of your 401k, or don't do this, or absolutely do that? Anything in particular that you're advising the general population?
yeah, I mean, so we're taking this opportunity. We're an economics-based planning firm, so we're a little bit different. Um, Situations like this are what we try to prepare for. A business partner and I, who do most of our work joint, his name's also Eric, so we always say you get E squared when you get us. But he and I were talking about this the other day. It's weird to see things work out in practice and not theory, right? And so when we're taking this opportunity because some of the biggest brains in that world, like Dr. Wade Pfau and Dr. Fink, these guys, like you said, normally charge a lot of money. Dr. Wade Pfau just did a 2-hour webinar yesterday for agents and advisors, and we were able to take some of that content and put it together to email and send out to our clients and make it out there for them, and also put out more relaxed rules as far as compliance, put things out on the web so that when we start talking about making sure that you have assets that aren't market correlated and things like that to help you weather the storm, people understand what that means. And like you said before, these are things that we as an agency or as a firm would have had to pay a lot of money for prior to this. But right now, everybody's wanting to give back, and they care so much about getting the information out there that we're able to take that, turn around and package it and send it to our clients at no charge, and people who aren't our clients, just to get that information out there. I've always been a big fan of the idea of, more of a financial educator. I just happen to have the tools that if we need to implement a strategy, we can. But I believe the education should be out there for everybody. And I think it's kind of cool right now because you're seeing that. I think for us as an industry, you're seeing that work out. Like I said, our firm, we're big on it. And the support that we're getting has been pretty amazing. And so we're going to continue to try to add value there, but also I know making sure that everybody knows, hey, I'm at home and I've got Zoom, so I'm available. And if you just want to talk through, like, okay, I'm nervous right now about this, or the things that we haven't gotten around to, like planning for college for your kids or any of that stuff, perfect time to do it. We're all stepping back a little bit. So it's a perfect time to do it.
A lot of us have more time than we've ever had before. I've wanted to do this podcast for at least 5 years. I was reviewing some notes trying to figure out when this idea started. And it started in at least 2015. So for 5 years, I've been telling myself, I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to do these member spotlights. I'm going to talk to our members that are out there doing things and kind of tap into their industry. And it took this virus for me to actually do it. And I was like, man, the only reason I didn't do it is because I didn't make the time, or I felt like I didn't have the time. And so people have more time than they've ever had in their life. And I think that's part of the struggle too for a lot of people. We talked earlier about folks being in this freeze mode. It's like it's kind of easy to not be in freeze mode if you know you've got two or three or four or five things to do every day.
Yeah.
But when you have it, you can do anything. You could not open your business. You could open a new business. You could go get an online education. You could go for a walk. You could get on a Zoom. You could do nothing. You could just sleep all day. You could watch it. Like when you have so many options and so much time, I think that's part of what causes people to go, "Oh shoot, I can do anything." And they
Yeah.
sometimes when you do anything you can do, you end up doing nothing. Um, Switching gears a little bit on the friend side of things. Friend side of things is we talked about virtual cigar happy hours, virtual happy hours. What are you and your buddies doing right now to make positive shifts in your relationships or just connections that you're making?
So it's really funny. I've talked to several guys over the last week or so, probably the last 2 weeks. Um, one of which that really brought this up and made me think about it is a fellow Gents Place guy. Um, I'll throw him under the bus, Paul Stanford. Sorry, Dr. Paul Stanford. But Paul and I were sitting there talking. Neither one of us are big phone guys. And we literally sat there, smoked a cigar, and had a whiskey, talking to each other over the phone for like an hour and a half because you're something that, I'm former military, adapt and overcome attitude. But also, like, we were both laughing because we've been doing more and more of that with our friends. And for us as guys, we typically aren't that way. And I'm texting guys and talking to guys I haven't talked to in probably 6, 8 months, just be like, hey, man, what's going on? And why haven't we gotten together? Of course, now we're like, well, we can't get together yet, but we can figure this out after this is over. But I think that the positive shift has been like to be more intentional. And I believe that's a key, especially when it comes to relationships. And you and I both know all life is, whether it's business or anything else, it's all about relationships. So I think that's been the cool shift amongst our friends. But we're connecting again. Um, I've even started connecting with guys I served with that had some of them I didn't even realize were in Texas until this happened. And I started seeing people posting from different locations about being stuck at home. So
Well, and you brought up your service, and thank you for that. And I am talking to a number of veterans just on the show. I talked to a Navy veteran yesterday that just came out of homelessness, and I think our veterans, in many cases, are at a disadvantage because, based on what a lot of them have been through, depression may come a little bit easier for them, and anxiety may come a little easier than the general population because of their service. And so, is there anything out there specifically for veterans that you would advise them on, or resources that they have, or just, if you were talking to the gentleman I talked to yesterday, like some of the things that you would recommend to him to make a positive shift, because he kind of felt like he was in this situation where he knows the mindset he needs to have. He was really successful in the military. He intellectually knows all of those things. He's kind of like at this point where he could go either way. He knows where he needs to go, but he just needed to talk to somebody to kind of push him there a little bit. So anything you would say to some of those guys?
yeah, I'd say the biggest thing, the two things that you get out of the military, one of the big ones is you get the confidence and leadership ability to go really attack anything you want to attack. Um, the other thing that also makes it a lot easier is you're never alone. You work as a team. I don't care if you're special operations. I mean, I spent the last 2 years and most of my deployment working with the cyber teams. There was at least two of us. You're never alone, right? So um, remembering that whenever you get in that headspace, like, hey, I've done some hard jobs, I can do this. Just remember, you never did it by yourself. So finding that connection, whether it's contacting, guys at your local VFW, or I work with and Frisco. I'm the judge advocate for our VFW. And we have a younger one. We're really active. We actually reached out and called all of our older members, and we've done some we had our last meeting virtually through Zoom, and it was nice. So everybody kind of got to see each other. But reaching out and finding ways to connect. We just had a Zoom call with Texas Veterans Outdoors. We're we're going to open up some opportunities because in small groups, apparently hunting and fishing is still okay here in Texas. So just finding ways to connect. I mean, the thing about the military is you had a built-in community. You didn't get to choose everybody, but you came together and you had a built-in community. You have to recreate that back out here. I think all people need community, but I think vets, we're a little bit different because we're so used to having that camaraderie. It's part of our lives. It's built in. So I would recommend to anybody just find a group, even if it's just a social group on Facebook. Just where you're cracking jokes or whatever. Find some way to connect, and then continue that once we can actually get back out in person and continue to go and connect. I know that for me, my transition was not terrible. My transition wasn't as bad as some of my friends um, I've seen suffer through some things. And one of the things is I said I was lucky. When I came off active duty, I went to UTD. A good chunk, a huge, heavy veterans population. A good chunk of us were in the same cohort. And then when I was finishing up my master's, that's when I figured out, like, oh, okay, I got to go find some other community and and I was able to. And that's, like I said, I think that's what helps me a lot. And that's also what helps me business wise or ideas, to be able to bounce ideas off of guys who aren't scared to tell me, no, that's dumb. Or, yeah, you should, you got the ability to do this, go do this. So the community aspect, I think, is the way that we survive this, but it's also the way that we, even after this whole thing is over, we're all better going forward.
Yeah, we got to keep on it. That validates the conversation that we had yesterday. This veteran left the call with a commitment to make 3 intentional connections a day with people that he knew that were positive influences in his life. And I think if he follows through with that commitment, he'll end up making those connections, deepening relationships, and feeling a bit better about his situation for sure.
Oh, yeah.
All right, brother. Well, I appreciate you spending some time with me. We're going to do this show during the COVID-19 stuff. We're going to launch a new show because now I'm doing it. I may as well continue doing it. So we're going to launch a new show after we open again that there'll be a lot of fun. So I'll have you back on when we get that launched.
All right. Sounds good, man.
All right, man. Have a good rest of your day.
You as well, bro.